What if Gojo didn't have Geto in this moment to serve as his moral compass? What if he had just taken all of those people out? Would he have gone full-blown evil? Let's talk about that and a lot more. But first, special shout out to Kari for the sponsor question today. He wanted to know if Gojo had taken out those people, would he have ended up evil and Geto ended up good? This is a really interesting question. So first of all, it's honestly crazy that Gojo never did take a heel turn and go evil because he had all the reasons to. He was never treated as a person. He's been looked at as an object basically his entire life. As the Six Eyes Limitless user, he is the strongest, and he's been treated as a tool and a weapon because of that. He was stripped of his childhood, right? That's one of his fundamental beliefs of not wanting to do that to the next generation. It's part of why he wants to raise them up to build the society that he wants to be a part of. Yeah, and to that note, the society that he is a tool and a weapon for, he can't even really fully get behind because he doesn't agree with the powers that be in the system. But again, instead of taking them out, which he knows he can do and even considered, he knows it really wouldn't accomplish anything because just, more people would fill their place. So even though he doesn't agree with the system, he still plays into it. Even though he could have taken out all of these people in this scene, he doesn't. Now, largely that's because of Geto. But to that point of him not going evil, the one person he's connected to in this world, Geto, does betray society, does betray everything they've been led to believe, and he goes to the other side. So it would have been the easiest thing in the world for Gojo to just join him, but he doesn't. And that's because Gojo has an insane strength of will and character. However, in this moment, he didn't. And so if Geto had already had his kind of ideals shift and had his plan to take out all non-sorcerers here in this moment, I think he could have convinced Gojo and they would have been a tandem team in that effort. But thankfully for, I guess, society, Geto hadn't taken that turn yet. And so he was Gojo's moral compass in this moment. And I think that was a massive, massive turning point. He needed Geto here to put him on the right track. Because again, Gojo was just viewed as the strongest, as a tool for his entire life. Geto was the only one he could really connect with on a personal level. So he looked to Geto to build his own moral compass. And a lot of hidden inventory is those two kind of reflecting their ideals off one another. And it affected Gojo more than Geto probably realized. And again, this moment was the pivotal tipping point. Gojo was unsure of himself and literally could have fallen to either side of the fence. But luckily, Geto was there to push him in the right direction. And the tragedy of this relationship is that Gojo was not there for Geto in a similar fashion. Even with his six eyes that can see everything, he couldn't see his friend spiraling down a path and wasn't there to help him get back on his feet. So Geto saved Gojo, but Gojo could not save his friend. And it's because he was ill-equipped to do so. Again, he's been treated as a tool, an object, a weapon his entire life. He quite literally does not have those interpersonal skills the same way that Geto does. I mean, his technique is infinity because there is literally a distance between Gojo and everyone else there is. Geto was just able to get the closest because they were both the strongest. But obviously Gojo was on a completely different level. And because he was ill-equipped to help his friend in this way, it's been one of the most fundamentally character-shaping things that he's gone through. It's heavily part of the reason that he is so invested in rising up and shaping the next generation to lead Jujutsu society the way that he wants and believes it can be led. Now, the reason I'm waxing so poetic on this is because I'm about to compare it to something happening in the story right now. Because JJK is cyclical. A lot of the same themes and events are happening on repeat in this story. But for my anime onlys, you're going to have to back out from here on out. So my apologies, but we're going to have to talk about some stuff currently happening in the manga. So here we are once again with two main characters who are technically, on the same side of things, but they have conflicting ideologies, just like Gojo and Geto did. And we can see this numerous times throughout the manga, especially at the start, when they argued over who deserves to be saved. And the great thing about this is that they do bounce off one another. Neither one fully comes to the other side, but they understand each other's standpoint, right? And obviously Yuji is not Gojo, and Megumi is not Geto, but that's the beauty of this story. It's because this time there might be a different result. Because where we are in the manga right now, Megumi needs help. He's down, just like Geto was during his depressive phase. He's lost everything, right? And he's literally given up the will to fight and to live. However, Yuji is not Gojo. I think Yuji is equipped to get through to his friend here and not let the cycle repeat. And that's because Gojo did foster the next generation to be stronger than him, and not just physically. Yuji and Yuta are both some of the most empathetic characters in the story. He made sure they had childhoods, at least to some extent, right? He protected that for them. And because of that, these are two really good dudes, right? I mean, Yuji is basically the antithesis of Gojo in terms of being able to connect with people. He is literally able to touch other people's souls. So I think he will be able to do what Gojo couldn't, and he will be able to get through to his friend. Now, does that mean Yuji's going to get through to him right now? Megumi's going to wake up, they'll defeat Sukuna, save the day, and the merger never happens? No, I honestly don't believe that. I think the merger will happen, and who knows if they'll even come out on top when everything is all said and done. What I do believe, though, is that he will be able to get through to Megumi. Now, whether that's all for naught, we'll have to see. At the end of the day, Gojo has done everything in his power to raise up the next generation to be what he could not be. And I think we're going to see that fully play out. Now, I know I've been yapping about this, especially if you've been seeing my recent videos. We've been talking about the cyclical nature of JJK and the narrative symmetry a lot. So it just excites me to see these things kind of happening, right? I definitely think there's massive parallels between the Gojo-Geto relationship and the Yuji-Megumi relationship. So we're just going to have to see this play out. But to circle back around to the original question, if Gojo had gone evil in this moment, it's over for everyone else, right? Like, who knows what the story would have played out like, considering Kenjaku's obviously got his machinations going. Would Sukuna still come out and play at some point? I don't know. But a Gojo that goes evil this early, one, no one can stop him at this point. And two, maybe that just puts him on a trajectory to become so powerful that even he beats Sukuna when and if they finally engage. Would be a really cool, what if story. Anyways, y'all, I appreciate you coming with me on that yapathon. Please let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments. Special shout out again to Kari for the support in the sponsored video, and I will see you guys in the next one.